Western Conference Podcast with your boy Big Body Cisco, brought to you by Dos Caras Tequila. But we're here live on location at Famecast Studios in the beautiful Santa Monica, California. And with a special guest, I got the incomparable Miss Dinah Jane in the building. How we doing?
Hey, hey, hey.
Long time coming. Long time. Come on, but we here.
I'm so sorry, Body Cisco. He's been trying to get me in here for a while now.
I almost felt like I was annoying her at one point. I was like, am I bothering you? Let me know, because I feel like,
You're
you know.
never bothering.
But you know, I'm just happy that you're here, and we're here in Southern California, your hometown.
Well, Orange County.
Orange County, easy gangster. She was like OC up in this, you know, not Santa Monica, but you know, we are here, we are live, and I definitely want to get the Western Conference Podcast family to kind of get to know Dinah Jane and kind of take us through the whole thing, because, you know, we've been missing you.
I've been missing you guys too.
And, you know, not that you've been missing, but you've been busy.
I've been busy.
And we're going to talk about all the goings-ons and more, but I said, you know, like I said, I want to take it back to the bare minimum, to the organic roots, and how you even got the love of music to do this thing.
All right, since you want to run it back.
Run it back, because I need to go straight, not when we just came out, but you're the oldest of 7 siblings.
I am the oldest.
Yes.
Damn, why you got to age me?
No, you ain't got to age you, but you had a lot on your plate.
I do.
But take us to the beginning of how this all came about.
Okay, so where do I begin? I grew up in Santa Ana, California, Orange County. So I grew up in a household of about 20-something people.
Ooh, that's a typical poly household right there.
I was told it was just probably me that dealt with that many. I hope not. I hope there's many polys out there who can relate. I'm just kidding.
Absolutely, because GPS is looking at this like, we should have been went over there.
There was always plenty of food, let me tell you.
Yes, always.
So I grew up in a musical home. My mom is a singer.
Okay.
My mom's a singer. Her siblings sing as well.
Yeah.
Some of them can't. Good thing they have good looks. And I always grew up hearing them sing because of church.
Yeah.
So my grandpa, whose home we stayed in, he always encouraged us to sing at church.
Yeah.
And then one day I told my family that I wanted to pursue this seriously outside of church. And my parents took a jump with me, took the risk and said, okay.
Leap of faith.
A leap of faith. And they took a chance on me and said, okay, we're going to do what we can. My dad made a few phone calls. Good thing he's friends with David.
Yeah, shout out Big Dave, man.
Uncle Dave.
But for those who don't know, Big Dave was like the security to the stars, Chris Brown, just to name a few. But he was actually a factor in the music industry. So that was a good little experience for him.
Yeah. So him and my dad were really good friends back then, and still to this day.
Yeah.
So he took a chance on me and said, "Ooh, so I can help her. Like, we're gonna get her in there." Da 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 da. I started off at his mom's garage. Period. Talk about humble beginnings.
Good old garage.
And I thought it was so cool. Like I was like, man, I'm in my first studio ever. Like 11 years old, singing "Poison" by Beyonce.
Hold on, wait. 11 years old?
Yes.
Jesus, I thought I was just playing in the sand and playing with my own shit at that age, but
I had no business singing about love.
Especially a Beyonce song, right?
You're just like poison.
11 and you singing Beyonce at the garage with Dave, okay.
And I probably had like 20 views like on there, and I was like, wow, I'm so cool. And Big Dave was just so happy with what we were creating together. We just did covers back to back to back, and he took me as far as he could and handed me to Kennedy Mailo.
Man, shout out Uncle Kennedy out there, man. Trey Smooth fam.
Just the community that I built out here in Southern California. I'm very grateful for the hands that were able to help me at that time to help me achieve my dreams. So Kennedy Mailo also was there when I took a shot at X Factor. So I took 2 rounds of X Factor. I did the first round. I didn't make it because I was very shy. And then there was a second time.
And you were how old at the first time?
The first time I was like 13.
Oh, man. That's a lot of pressure.
I know. And he was trying to prep me for like, oh, Dinah, we're going to take you do this, and this is what superstars do. And I was like, why are we in a limo? Like, I don't understand.
I know with Kennedy, he was in Pinky's limo. But he was so he was actually taking you through these auditions as well.
Yes, he was taking me through these auditions. When I didn't get the first cut, I was kind of let down, and then he told me try out for America's Got Talent. So my family and him were there for that as well, and just nothing was going for me. And finally, my parents said, just take one more shot at X Factor. And I was like, but Mom, I feel let down. I don't think it's going to happen. She's like, don't give up.
You're so young at that age too. So.
And at the same time, I'm also going to performing arts school at the time. So shout out to OSHA.
OSHA, what it do?
While I'm going to this performing arts school, I'm right after school, I'm also going to the studio in Carson at Uncle Ken's studio. And so it was just this hustle thing that I was doing, and it was constant. And I never grew tired of it.
Yeah.
I just kind of was loving the
whole nostalgia of the whole situation. Yeah.
And my parents were there for me the whole time through. So I was like, man, I just got to make my parents proud. So there's that pressure of like, you better stay on top of it. And if this is what you want, like marry it. And, you know, so.
And commit to it.
Commit to it. That happened. I did the audition. Oh yeah, there we are. Sorry. I did the audition the second try, and I got accepted. I flew out to Rhode Island. I flew out to Rhode Island. That was the last city that they were viewing. So I was like, why am I going all the way to Rhode Island? I didn't even know where Rhode Island was. I thought it was nearby. But Uncle Ken said, no, it's a 5-hour flight.
Oh, that's on the East
other
Coast.
Side of the country. And I was like, oh my gosh. So he took a chance on me. I went with him and my mom. And at first we were very hesitant because when we got the call, they were saying like, hey, how would you like to audition in front of Simon Cowell, Demi Lovato, Britney Spears, and L.A. Reid? We first thought it was a scam. Because they said, meet us at the Donut Stadium. Something donut. I have never heard of, what's it called?
So you was like, hold up, Simon and L.A. Reid is definitely not at the donut shop.
I was like, someone set me up. And my mom just prayed about it. We did constant prayers before we flew out.
The power of prayer.
And then Uncle Ken said, let's do it. I don't care how much it costs. We're going to do it. We flew out there. Did the audition, and it was actually real, so it wasn't a scam. And I'm so glad I took the last minute flight and trusted the process, and then I ended up in a girl group.
But let's
you don't want me to jump yet?
Before we get into that, before the pressure of you finding out this was the actual audition, before Simon Cowell, like the pressure, like I hate to keep putting the pressure thing on you because you've already got, was rejected twice. Now it's kind of like playing with your mental now. Now when you're in front of them, now it's time to perform. What kind of ticks in you to say, okay, this is do or die for me at this point?
The do or die part was when they denied my first song.
Wow.
So
what was the first song?
The first song was Etta James, I'd Rather Go Blind.
Ooh, hold up.
Something drove me. I was 15 singing that song. I had no business singing that song either at 15 years old. And Simon stopped me right before I got to the chorus, and he's like, do you have another song? And I was like, oh my gosh. I started shaking, started panicking. And I was like,
Plot twist.
I didn't prepare. I did kind of prepare for it, but I didn't expect them to tell me, what do you have next? Woo.
What did you have next?
I had Big White Room by Jessie J. So I'm just blowing out these big records. And he said no to that as well. And he's like, what else do you have? I did not practice this one. I was just singing on my ass trying to figure out what the lyrics were because I was like, this is do or die. And it was Beyonce, If I Were a Boy.
Wow.
So before I performed, I'm saying a prayer. Like I'm literally saying, God,
like literally, like, come on,
guide me through the song. And then in that moment, it was like something overcame me and told me, you got this. So that's why I looked up and I was like, you got this, girl. And then everyone was just very tiny to me, like the whole room. Like I just felt like I was in a big room by myself.
Everything slowed down for you.
Everything slowed down, and I just trusted myself in the process, and I said, you got this.
Wow.
And then at the end, they were applauding me, and I just forgot like how much I did. I didn't realize what I just did. And it was like a standing ovation and everything. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's really happening.
And I remember that because, and the reason I bring it up is because it brings up with Ian Tongi and the American Idol thing and him being the winner.
My family.
And just kind of takes me back to your audition and being in that moment. And kind of seeing you where, as a poly demographic, we're watching, one of our own up there. And I think it's when you got into that If I Were a Boy where everyone was part of your team at that point. And kind of seeing the standing ovation, kind of seeing the reaction from the judges. And then now we're like, okay, Dinah Jane's my cousin. Everyone was like your cousin and uncles at that point. But that was like before like this got into the Ian Tongi thing where that was the moment for Polynesians, not in general, just, young kids looking up to you where you were already a kid. I mean, and I remember you had the bright colors on. And
listen, hold on. Don't even bring up the colors.
Neon, I wish neon collar.
I wanted to be seen, okay? With the big red hair and everything. Don't talk about my wardrobe. Y'all don't come from my wardrobe, okay? She flew out last minute. Obviously, she was mixing and matching, didn't know what to wear. But when you talk about EM, it brought so many flashbacks. Like I could understand the nerves and then being a Polynesian behind the screen, just watching him win, just was such a proud moment where I remember that feeling of like everyone being proud. And he's actually my family, so I'm not gonna cap on that.
Real cousin, not
really
fake
my
cousin,
family.
but real one. But that kind of takes us more, not the pressures of it, but you having the pressures of being Polynesian and kind of having like the Polynesian people behind you, you know. And we've seen how we're in Kahuku and when he went back home, where it's a lot of pressure. And I don't think a lot of people that watch these things kind of understand where it's not just a personal pressure. It's where like you're holding the weight of Tongans, Samoans, Hawaiians, this whole Polynesian demographic, where when you were just sitting there in that moment, we were all proud. And now you're under a microscope. Now it's kind of like every move is watch what you're doing. And now we kind of see where we're disagreeing with Simon, we're disagreeing with the whole group thing, you know, as us being, so how did that kind of converge into what you were doing as being a part of Fifth Harmony? Because I remember that day too, my mom was like, oh no, she doesn't need to be in the group, she's good by herself. First I was like, Mom, is dinner ready? Because there's nothing being made right now. We keep watching this, but how was that for you to kind of say, okay, you weren't ready to do this group thing. So what was the mindset at that point?
I think I can speak for all of us that we weren't expecting to be tossed into a girl group. But for me personally, I think I was kind of prepared for whatever was to come at me because I kind of already had that background with my family because I come from a musical family. So singing at home with a group of people
was an advantage to you as well.
Yeah, it was an advantage. I was like, oh, this is cool. But at the same time, I'm not a people's person. I wasn't a people. Let me run that back. I wasn't a people's person. I was very shy into myself. So making friends was kind of like uncomfortable for me.
For Polynesians as well too, because we don't like making friends with a lot of people that we don't know. So when you kind of got thrown into that whole thing, I was I don't know if they're gonna get along, but
scared.
You kind of like took that on, and like you said, you like not being a people person where you have your talent as a solo artist. Then you kind of like put into this where everyone kind of has their own talent level, and we kind of seen that it was on display for all the world to see. So that's why I was like, okay, how did Dinah kind of like adjust to that?
I mean, I was backstage and I thought when they called my name that we were gonna go against each other. So I was like, damn, what's my next one?
You were like, challenge.
I was just ready, like Leona Lewis in my back pocket right now. Yesterday, I got her ready. And then when we got called to be in a girl group, I just kind of, I adjusted. I adjusted quickly because I realized like this is a sign. If I also didn't take that flight to get there thinking it was a scam, that was one of them. One of the songs during the boot camp with the girls, I was kind of put up against Lauren. And so we were singing the same song. So I was like, oh my gosh, what is gonna, there were just so many obstacles that I was facing during that time. And then finally, that was kind of the answer to me that I was given, like, okay, there's a reason why Heavenly Father is putting you in this position is because he knows you need these girls. And then we need each other because we're so young. I'm the youngest of the 5.
Come on.
And being the baby of the bunch, it felt like high school. Like we're learning the industry together.
And it's not that easy. Like we talk about being high school and at that age where it's like Mean Girls age group. You know what I mean? Where he's like, I can sing better than her. Or she, vice versa. Where it's like almost competition amongst each other.
I'm not gonna get into that, but
But see, and I think it goes back to your upbringing. And I think because you were brought up in a household like that, because you kind of had the faith in God that you had.
And different personalities. There were stronger personalities. Some were shy like me. Like some were just middle. So kind of like adapting to everyone and trying to make everyone feel comfortable was kind of a challenge too. So I was okay with being quiet and not saying much. But then finally I grew some balls and started saying like, I don't like that.
You let the hair down at one point. It was like, okay, now you get into did you feel yourself getting into the groove where you're like, okay, now that I'm in this group thing, now I can kind of let my hair down and kind of just show what I can do. And how do you kind of like rein back on kind of it being a competition within your group?
I never really saw it as a competition. I was genuinely really good friends with each and every one of them. I had a different relationship with everyone, and I loved them all individually, separate, like different than the others. So having that bond with them, I never saw it as competition. And
that's dope.
The friendship was there, and the chemistry was there. So that kind of outweighed the business part of it from how I took it. And there were like 2 singles that I sat out on. because I was too friendly.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, bitch, that's what you get. You get voted. That's what happens when you want to be friends with everybody and put them first.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie. When we were listening to this song, we would always just wait for your part. We're like, I think that's not Dinah. Oh, that one's Dinah. So that's why it was like, okay, it was kind of like, not weird, but it was kind of like, okay, who's gonna get the lead?
Yeah,
who's gonna get this part, that part? Where we, like you said, it's in front of the world.
In front of the world.
And you guys are doing your thing. And like, how do you, so your transition is there. Now you guys are Fifth Harmony.
Well, social media was a thing too. Like I never had a Twitter, but then when we're on the show,
mind you, it was just Twitter at that point too.
Just Twitter.
Yeah.
Instagram was coming. I think Facebook was around then too. Damn, I'm so old.
But you see, you adapted. You adapted really well. Where you could, like, you talk about social media, fan bases coming on there.
When people started pitting us against each other, we started looking at each other like, oh my gosh, do I look like that?
Yeah.
Or am I that type? Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But then we always would comfort each other behind closed doors and be like, you are not what they say you are on social media and whatnot. And we would always give each girl like a pat on the back, like, you're doing fine. Like, don't listen to the noise.
Yeah.
And silence the noise. So that's why I say it was such a benefit being with the girls, because we were able to lean on each other at such a critical time of just breaking through as a girl group.
Yeah.
At the time.
But take us through, I mean, now that Fifth Harmony is there, now it's like a worldwide thing, like where you guys are like almost like the Beatles in a sense, right? Because you guys are going to different countries.
You can't put us that high. Wow. That was way too high. Now we're reaching.
But you guys are like touring and stuff. You guys are doing these shows where you kind of thrown into the fire at that point. Now that you guys are doing that as a group, how did you guys adjust to saying, okay, now we're on like real tour life. Now we're doing this stuff like that where it's a big pressure on y'all. Tell us about that.
Our first tour, one of our first tours, we did a mall tour.
Oh,
and
wow.
while we're moving and doing, we just dropped music, an EP. Damn, when you take me back, I'm like, oh, damn. I feel like it happened yesterday.
It's the humble beginnings.
Woo! So we did mall tours, and they were, like, it was bad.
It's like a cult following almost. It's like,
yeah,
Jesus.
I mean, we were, every day it was a show.
Yeah.
And it was really new to us at the time. So going on that journey of like waking up at 6 a.m. and then finishing your day like around midnight or 10 p.m. Barely any rest. You had to make sure your vocal cords were good for the next day, because if you don't have enough rest, you're going to crack on stage. And then fittings and makeup and hair, there was a rotation. Oh my gosh, I can get so into it. It was a lot to take in, but I'm grateful for the hands that were there at the time. We had parents come in rotation as well, but there was only one parent that could come in. So unfortunately for me, my mom kept popping out babies. So my mom couldn't come with me on tour, and I was really
busy.
sad. Mom was busy. She had other business. And when I first went on tour, I remember crying my eyes out. I was only out on the road for about a week. And I remember I remember it so vividly. I was calling my mom and I was like, Mom, and she was like, Dinah, you okay? And I just started crying so bad, because I literally left home. I'm on the other side of the country and I don't have my mother there with me.
Come on, that's a lot.
The rule was that you only have your parents on the road.
Yeah.
And I was like, can I have my sister with me? But it was a majority rule thing. So I was kind of outvoted. Because, so I wanted my sister with me. Anyways, family was a hard thing to take in, because I needed them on the road to last. But the phone calls worked, and what else worked? I would play music that reminded me of home, like Polynesian music, island music. And that's what I mean when I said I adjusted and I made the road feel like my home.
Come on, the adaptability was there.
And tour was crazy. When we get home, none of us realized how big we were when we got home, because people were coming over. People were like, "Oh, let's go hang out. Let's do this and that." And I'm like, "Oh, I just got home. I'm tired." Like,
and it kind of takes away a normal childhood from someone your age at the time, where you're not doing the things that you can just go to the mall now. Now you go into the mall and there's like a security team. There's like so much involved with doing that, and not that they stripped you of your thing, but to me, I always looked at it where it was a lot too fast.
Yeah, too fast.
How did that kind of help you now, looking back as we're talking about it, into your career as a solo artist? Because now we're saying the Fifth Harmony thing, not to start it, now everyone's kind of doing their own thing. Now they kind of say, okay, we did the Fifth Harmony thing. Now it's kind of getting into the Dinah Jane, the solo artist. So tell us how that transition between going from this girl group into being Dinah Jane, the solo artist, that transition. Tell us about that.
The transition was, I would say it was kind of tricky. Because I was still trying to discover who I was, because I invested a lot of myself into the group that I didn't have the development of figuring out who I was in the journey of being in the group, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So trying to discover myself after dropping like Bottled Up and everything, I was still trying to figure out who Dinah was.
Yeah. Looking for the identity.
Yeah, looking for my identity. So dropping Bottled Up, it was actually not supposed to be a single. I showed a snippet on Instagram on my story, and I didn't know that screen recording was a thing at the time. So people were posting my song. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
They got it.
Yeah.
And then I felt like this pressure of like dropping the record, because I had a lot of great feedback.
Come on.
From showing that snippet. And I was like, Mark, we got to drop the song. He's like, hurry up and make it your single. You already got to drop, girl. Like, da-da-da-da. So the pressure of that, we just dove into it. I did so many versions of Bottled Up, and I'm really grateful for the love that that record got, because I didn't think it was gonna blow up the way it did.
It blew up because
it got a lot of love.
Take us back to, like, you were talking about Marky Basie, and Marky Basie is a friend of mine. Like I was his first interview when he was a San Francisco artist.
Okay.
And we kind of talked about when I seen that kind of collaboration with you, where I'm like, damn, Marky Basie's with you. Then Ty Dolla got involved with the project, where that one was like the mainstream hit for you. And like you were talking about with social media. So when we talk about transitioning from the girl group to the solo artists, now you're transitioning also and adapting to the social media age that we're starting to get into, the Instagrams, the TikToks, and all like that too. So that was a plus for you, or was it a plus for you to kind of have that aspect part of your solo career?
It was a plus, but man, it was scary.
Yeah.
Because I was being forced to always post.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a natural thing where like I would be like, oh, I want to post.
Like, you have to post.
It was like, oh, they would encourage me like, Dinah, you need to post today. Do this, do that, do that. And I was like, I don't know how I feel. Like, I don't feel comfortable.
Yeah, like every day.
Yeah. So it was just a constant thing with social media and whatnot. But the record Bottled Up was hitting, and then I felt the pressure to drop it as a single. We dropped it as a single. And then, as I said, I was still in the midst of like trying to figure out who I was.
Finding that identity.
Yeah. And I remember on set shooting the music video, I called a special friend who I met at 12, 13 years old. And I was like, Chad, where are you?
Yeah.
You need to come back. You need to come and join my project, because I feel like I'm losing myself.
Yeah.
I'm questioning myself, and that's where it was a red flag.
Yeah.
It was during my set of Bottled Up, and he was like, okay, girl, what do we got to do? And I was like, I don't know who I am, but I know I'm Polynesian. I live and breathe it every day.
Absolutely.
And I was so good at being who people wanted me to be. Executives, they would be like, oh, this is the image you should go for, do this and do that. And I'm grateful that people saw me bigger than who I was, but I realized that my identity was what I was missing.
Absolutely.
So calling someone from home, Mr. Chad
shout
Vaifanua,
out to
who is
Uso
here
Chad,
right
man.
now, he quickly answered, and he jumped in, and he jumped on my tour and helped with anything that he could, just to bring back my roots.
Home, and bring back
home
Yeah,
on
exactly.
the road, and kind of wake that up with my music. So that's crazy, right? That I literally called someone from home and said, I don't like where they're pushing me.
It takes a phone call like that. It takes somebody like Chad and like anybody in life where you need that reality check and you need that reality call where you have the luxury of doing that.
Yeah.
And I think in this industry that we're in, we always have that person. And Chad happened to be the person for this.
Yes.
Where, we see over the years where, especially in this Polynesian demographic, where someone like Chad that's, so gifted and being in that demographic, where it's kind of say, okay, now let's kind of look for your identity and what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Because now we're looking at mainstream and we're looking at the Polynesian demographic.
Right.
I mean, however way you want to put it, that's the way you got to look at it.
Right.
Because it's like, okay, let's not forget I'm Tongan and I'm carrying the weight of this demographic where you kind of having someone to give you that reality check. Okay, let's get back to the roots thing. And is that something that you and Chad kind of said, hey, look, let's kind of get back to the roots. Let's we did the whole mainstream thing.
Yep.
Now how can we implement
Start from
this poly background we're doing?
I am still in the process.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're right. Absolutely.
Because being steered so many directions, being tugged and pulled many directions, it was always said to me like, oh, you look Latina, you look black. Like, why don't you just run with it? And I said, no, but I'm not.
Come on.
And I didn't I wasn't comfortable at the time, but I'm grateful for the community that I had to remind me of who I am and who I'm meant to be.
Need that reality check sometime,
yes. And so cutting it back, like even taking it back on the music, I just wanted people to understand that, no, I'm not what you say I am. This is who I am. And let me just embrace it a little bit more.
Don't say it again, girl. Don't say it again.
It's very influenced in my music. And when I talk about my stories, I am unabashedly like able to speak of my story without filtering it, because the industry was not used to a story like mine. Like me even saying on national television, thousands of people, millions of people telling I'm live with that many people. I don't know why that came out of my mouth. My mom was prepping me. She's like, just say that you love baseball. And I was like, Mom, I don't love baseball. And I was just nervous, and on the spot, I was just being myself in those 2 seconds. And coming back into really diving into that more as I'm a solo artist, I just love that I'm able to be myself without any filter and say, like, this is who I am and this is how my culture is. And I'm glad that there's a big community of people winning on social media, like Drew. Who else? There's so many TikTok winners that are making like the Mariah Carey song.
Shout out Poly TikTok too, man.
Shout out to Poly TikTok. Shout out to all the Polys who are just winning out there.
Yeah, the content creators
I don't
is
feel
ridiculous.
alone, if that makes sense. Like I just love that we are winning in this industry where we always felt like we weren't seen. And I kind of feel like I was kind of running it by myself. I don't mean to disrespect anyone, but I feel like as a female artist in the mainstream world, I kind of felt alone. And not having that identity with me, someone to look up to in that sense. I'm grateful that I had a Rodna to look up to.
Come on, shout out Raz, man. That's
really
sis right there.
The reason why I kind of started. I always looked up to Beyonce and Leona Lewis, Mariah Carey, Lauryn Hill, but I never had a Polynesian brown skin girl to look up to until I heard a Rodna say, I love you.
Come on, man.
Like there, I
thought she was talking to me on that song, but apparently she wasn't. Raz, I'm going to be in New Zealand in October, but that's neither here nor there. But like you said, it takes us back to a Radna, and it took you back to your roots. Like I've seen it firsthand. Like we've done shows in Australia. And I've seen the people that came for the Fifth Harmony fame, and then you had the Polynesian that was accepting the Dinah Jane, you being home type thing. So I've kind of seen the transition, firsthand and through social media where, being Polynesian is not like the cool thing, but it is what you are. You know what I mean? And it's same thing what I do and same thing what you do and everyone in our demographic where it's accepted more, where not just because it's cool, because that's who you are, but you kind of had both sides early where you was thrown into the fire, mainstream tours and all that. And now it's okay, now Dinah Jane, the solo artist, now I can be the Tongan girl, represent the T's, throw them up one time and still do it. And that's why I kind of love that we were able to sit down with this, because I see this transition in you. Because I see the comfortability. That's not even a word. Q, is that a word? The comfortability.
That's a word now. I agree, comfortability.
But you're comfortable now. And it's not to say that you wasn't then, but it's because you have all the camera, the lights on, and you kind of got to be proper. You kind of got to be up like that, where you still take a little bit of that, kind of put it into what you're doing now, and make it your own. And that's where we're at now. So that's what I say. We're going to chapters. Now that we have Dinah Jane, where you're in a comfortable, state of mind, what is next for Dinah Jane?
I feel like this next chapter, I really owe it to myself. I feel like there was an era, a phase in my life where I was taking care of others, and now I'm prioritizing me and my mental well-being and my music and just doing what I want rather than having executives tell me who I am. And I love the control that I have this round. It may not make it far, and I don't care if it don't make it far. What I care about is that I am investing into myself of who I want, who I've always been, who I've always been meant to be, if that makes sense. Come on, speak English, China. And I am just loving this comfort of owning my power. And I've had many hands involved in my journey who were helping me, molding me. And now that I'm here, I've kind of put them in the back seat and I've allowed myself to drive myself.
Go ahead, D.
And if I make a mistake, I make a mistake. And I have to own my mistakes, embrace it, and learn how to get back up. And I endured a lot of that in this 3-year break. I lost myself a lot. And I kind of,
Go on say, because this 3-year break, I think it was that telltale sign for you to say, okay, who is Dinah Jane? And, you know, while you were saying that part, I done heard all these snaps and you go ahead, girl, all around the world as we're doing this. But because of the freedom that you have now, because of the decisions that you get to make and not have the executives make those decisions for you, you know, having people like Chad in your corner and kind of having the poly people still behind you, whether it be negative or it be positive, they'll always have your back. And that's why I said I really wanted to sit down and say, look, now that was 3-year hiatus is there, now, okay, is Dinah ready? Because at the end of the day, whether it be 3 years or 5 years, it's really up to you.
Yeah.
So tell us how that being this moment to say, okay, now it's 3 years, haven't been on the scene. Now what we're doing, the comfortable, you know, you being comfortable now. Now what is Dinah Jane trying to bring out to the world?
I am such a businesswoman now. Like I said, I'm owning my power and I'm stepping into it more so than ever, where I'm realizing that the next generation also deserves a chance and a space where they belong, a place of feeling of belonging. So I am starting up my... Can I say it? Oh yeah, I already said it. I'm starting up my record label.
Who she looking at?
Can I say it? I'm starting up my record label because I realized that there's
hold on.
talent.
Don't just throw that out. So wait, so you start your own record label, Dinah.
Yes.
See, that's what I'm talking about. And everybody that's clapping, watching this right now should be proud of you doing because you have the experience of what you went through. Why wouldn't you do that? So tell us more about this record label, because is it like Death Row? Because I'm ready to be shook. Because if you're ready, I'm ready to be shook on this Death. But tell us about the label.
Audition like tomorrow. Can I be? Like you said, I've experienced a whole lot in this industry, a lot of ups, many downs. And like I said, I didn't really find a place of where I felt like I belonged or my identity was being tossed around. So I wanted a space for the next generation of Polynesians to feel like I belong, and I could do this. And I am talented. There is more to me. I remember, I'm very grateful for my background because I had family members who genuinely supported me. My immediate family, let me start there. Because the outside family, they were like questioning me and they were like, I don't know, girl, like that's a far reach. And my parents prayed and fasted and lost so many people, so much money just investing into a girl who had big dreams. And when you have if you have a community, foundation of family who really believe in you, that is a green flag, and you should listen to those people who are cheering you on.
Absolutely.
And if you fall, you fall. You got to learn on your own and get back up and realize that failures are a part of the process. Like I said, I got so many no's before I started, and I got that chance on X Factor, but having the support of encouraging me, saying like, keep going. And also talking to God, I think was such an awakening where I was like, okay, talk to him, stop running from him. And when I went through that critical time in those 3 years, I kind of pushed God away from me because
it happens.
I wanted to fall. It's different when your parents don't want you to fall and then you tell them, let me fall. Let me fall.
Sometimes you
allow
have to.
me to fall. And a parent doesn't want to hear that, and I understand that. But sometimes you just want your parent just to be there, Be my parent and don't be someone who's just like, by the book. I just want your support and be there when I fall. And if I want to cry to you, let me come to you, you know? So I felt like I needed that experience where I need to learn to get back up and say, girl, it's time to move on. Time to move on. Time to get up. Get your bag. Get your bag. Stand up. And I gained a lot of wisdom from that trial and error. So I'm grateful that I'm here and I'm ready to drop music that is me, represents me, and just being able to be free and just do what I want.
And I'm glad you said that, because you said it's a green flag. Where we live in a society where red flags is so broadcasted over social media so many times, where they're waiting for the downfall. They're waiting for somebody to fail. And I think you being, you know, especially influential to the younger, not even just Polynesian kids, just artists watching this right now, where they can see somebody that goes to God, that has the foundation of, believing in prayer. Where I think stuff like this gets hidden because they want all the viral stuff. They want all like the negative things here. You know, what was this viral moment, where we live in this social media world, which, you know, a lot of people don't accept it. Whether you accept it or not, you kind of got to adapt to it. And I think with you kind of telling your story and not being able to say, okay, who's over my shoulder telling me that's not it or that's not it. You're doing it on your own and what you want to do.
Amen.
So I think with this record label that everyone just found out about, hopefully they just found out on this, but now that we have that, is this something that you, along with having other artists, you're still working on Dinah Jane, the artist?
Yeah.
So tell us with this record label, what's going to be the next, and I don't want to give too much out. No, let's not. Chad over here waving his fist at me. Chad, not right now. But what can they expect from this record label and what's to come from Dinah Jane, the artist, and Dinah Jane, the record label?
Well, it is fairly new,
Yeah,
so I want to still save my little gems for when it does happen, but it is in the process. So I just know that it will represent our people in the best way. Just exposing our many gifts and talents, whether it's music, am I speaking English? Music, acting, dance.
Yeah.
When I went
Content
to
in general.
the performing content,
Yeah.
when I went to performing arts school, I thought dancing was so weird. Like, I didn't understand why, like, my form of my language is singing.
Yeah.
So dancing was out of my comfort zone, and I just fell in love with it, eventually realizing, like, this is another way of expressing yourself.
Yeah.
So in our family, like, we thought it was like laupisi.
Yeah.
Laupisi means like, what the heck? Like, why are you doing jazz? You know what I mean? But creating this space for kids to realize, like, any type of art is beautiful and dive into it. And it is not something to shy away from. So,
well, especially with the dance thing, because speaking of dance, you know, Chad is one of the best pristine dancers I know.
I know,
but
that's right.
but just to say, where people are looking at that aspect, where I had Rich and Tone Talenga on my podcast as well,
wow.
and we're talking about legends, you know,
Congrats.
doing with Michael Jackson, but just having that dance aspect of it, where it's part of our culture.
Yeah.
Dance, music, and everything, you know, that you portray yourself as. But with the dancing, like, you know, Chad could do his thing. Are we gonna see a lot more of the Dinah Jane dancing during this whole transition stage, or what we doing?
oh, definitely gonna be like, she can do everything. Oops, I hope I didn't break her chair. There's definitely gonna be, like I said, it's just me being myself when I'm on stage. I don't know, the stage is just, I know it's where I belong. Anytime I go on stage, and the last tour that I did in 2019, shout out to the people who came, everyone that sold it out, period. I don't remember what I did or the style that I did when I get off stage, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, remember when you did?" Oh, I don't remember. What did I do?
Because you in the zone when you're on that
stage. I was in the zone,
yeah.
and I just love that space where I can just be anything and do anything that I want, whether it's a grunt or if there's a frustration, something that I'm going through behind closed doors of my personal life. I'm able to just express myself freely there and just relate to the audience. It's such a beautiful thing to experience.
Absolutely.
And then also hearing the crowd sing your songs
Come
back
on,
to
speaking
you.
of right back to you, oh man. It got to
So
be that
beautiful.
feeling too, because especially we've done a couple of shows and you've done Bottled Up in your songs, and just to see the little girls there kind of just word for word shouting it back. Well, you don't even have to sing the song. You just got to put the mic out there. Yeah.
Go ahead, take it away.
Tell us about that feeling just in general, because coming from the X Factor, coming from Fifth Harmony, full circle, but to what we're doing now, how does that feeling still resonate with you today, doing it then and now doing it now?
I mean, I haven't been on my own stage in a while, so it's been 3 years.
Yeah.
From X Factor into now,
Does it mean a little bit more now?
It's a drastic change.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm literally, I reflect back on, wow, look at the little girl that asked her parents, I want to be a superstar. Like, can you help me?
Yeah.
I reflect on that little girl and pat myself on the back and say, wow, you made it this far.
Come on.
And God has put me in a position where I'm able to pass the gift or share the gift with many others in the room, as far as being Polynesian as well. So being in a space like that, I just did a writing camp with Siosi.
Shout out Siosi,
And it
man.
was
That's family right there.
the best experience because being amongst the AAPI community, we were the only Polynesians in this writing camp.
Huge.
So we were putting little words in there that were tongue-in, like suka suka means sugar sugar. Like, it just felt so good. I just
to
put
be able to
myself-
just implement that.
Yeah, implement that. And giving a piece of your culture in the music is a blessing.
Yeah.
And I hope when people hear the new music that I dropped, that they feel my energy and they feel my love and the position that I'm in right now. This is what I'm trying to do, is just make us all feel comfortable to just be unapologetically yourself
and being you in your own skin. Because like before we started this, we listened with a little sneak peek of what you had there, and I almost cried. And I'm just gonna tell you that I wasn't gonna cry that bottled up because I was probably getting drunk. But on this one, you could kind of tell that it was Dinah letting her hair down and kind of just this is me. And that's what I hope that these guys, now that they see where the new music is going, where it's just you being you.
Man, you talking about the song makes me cry because the reason why before we pressed play and started this podcast, I literally took a moment, asked them respectfully if I could play a song before we started. Ooh. Just because I was kind of nervous, and I was telling Big Body Cisco right here, I was like, I'm a little nervous. And I say that humbly because this is my backyard. Yeah. So shedding light on my people. Ooh, girl, stop crying.
No, go on.
It's all that I live for.
Yeah.
And the song that I played is really special to me, and it's called My Lord. And it's helped me through many difficulties in my life that I have endured in the past 3 years. So it's helped me get back up and realize my gift and understand that I have to utilize it in a way where I can bless anyone in any way. Yeah. Use this tool and just to keep going, and that when you are down, that to be grateful still for the goods and the bad. And in the chorus it goes, sometimes we sin in, sometimes we sin in, sometimes you give in. You are the reason that I keep on winning. So keep your head up now and just stay blessed, basically. So just stay grateful through the process and understand that God got your back no matter what throughout the process.
Come on.
And another.
No, that's good. No, that's good. Don't let it out.
I feel like that that song has helped me, and I've wanted the song out for so long because if it's blessing me, I know it can bless so many others. And I've held on to the song since 2018. Man. So I know.
Isn't that a trip though? Like something that you make so long ago can always be new and refreshed now and resonate with an audience now, where it might be old to you, and I tell people all the time, something that you did 10 years ago can still resonate and be brand new now. Yep. And still have the same relevance that you did when you put the pen to the pad. Come on. But is that something we're leaning towards too? Like this one being My Lord, is that something that you're trying to more express yourself as far as what your inner Dinah Jane is? Like, I want the kids to know I do believe in the Lord. I want the kids to know it's not all about just being bottled up. Yeah. You know what I mean? So is that the direction?
Balance.
If you're going to bottle up, you got to have a little Lord in there
on
too.
Sunday, okay?
Because if you don't have that, you can show up to church smelling like tequila. But is that what we're going towards as far as what the music is now for Dinah?
Yes. Like I said, I'm just expressing myself and just telling people I'm not perfect. Yeah. I like you said, the contrast of bottled up and then My Lord. I am far from perfect, but I just want people to know that you can still be imperfect and still be yourself, and you can still have that relationship with God, and no one has to understand it but yourself. Yeah. And I've been in positions where people would question my faith because I'm showing skin or the songs I'm singing. But
say that, D. Say that.
My testimony is still strong, okay? And God said He loves me the way I am, and no matter what, I'm still gonna pull up to church. But just being a woman in this industry is so hard. I feel like people criticize us a little harder because we're just women, and
not just women, Polynesian women.
Polynesian women.
And stay there with it, because I'm glad you brought that up, because we talk about the women thing, but I don't think you guys understand the magnitude when she says Polynesian women. It's a whole different ball game that you guys really come to understand. So not only the pressures of having the Polynesian people, but being a Polynesian woman in this, where okay, you're getting older, you are gonna show some skin, you are gonna, but that pressure. Tell us about how that kind of just resonates with. You're oldest of your siblings. So you also have to have that kind of like, okay, awareness. Say, okay, let me not do some things that maybe I don't want, the younger generation to do. Yeah. Tell me how that pressures, how you kind of dealing with that now and what it getting out to the public.
I mean, it's a battlefield.
Come on.
It really is a battlefield because I've dealt with it for years. Yeah. People would question, like I said, question my faith, or my siblings. They're always in the back of my head where I'm like, I don't want to embarrass them and whatnot. But then at a certain point, people have to realize that I will eventually just be myself. And if I feel like showing a little bit of skin, that's my choice. Yes. And I'm a woman who is comfortable with my body.
Say that then. Come on. Say that. Because I'm a Polynesian man that's comfortable in my skin too. And I'm like 400 pounds. So that's besides the point. As long as you have that confidence in yourself.
The confidence is what matters.
It's taboo in the Polynesian demographic. And I think me and Chad was talking about this before, where we're on a different playing field. And I don't think people realize that, where our playing field is a little bit different than, and not to take away from any other nationality out there, but ours is so microscopic, where we're such under the microscope, where, you know, when we do our makeup a certain way, we do our hair a certain way, it's either frowned upon or you're going to get either or. So you kind of like adapt into that. How about those girls that are watching you now to say, okay, how do you adapt to that? Because they're over there sitting in that adaptability stage right now themselves. Saying, Mom, I can't wear this to the, no, we're going to Kauai. You can't wear that tube top or whatever. But what do you say to those little girls that are watching now, how they should adapt with this Polynesian demographic being so on your back?
I mean, I feel like I can only speak from experience. I can't really speak for others, but I would just say, just be yourself. Eventually people will understand that you are comfortable with who you are and you love yourself, and eventually they'll see that glow and acceptance within yourself, because there's insecurities that Polynesian women deal with. Mind you, I just went to the water park this past week, the week before that, and what made me sad was that my younger cousins, being Polynesian girls, they wanted to stay in their t-shirts and their shorts. I said, girl,
come on,
take it off.
We grew up in the age where all the girls had to wear moo-moos when we went to the water park. And I was like, can they take that off at least or something? But yeah.
But I understand the respect. I understand the respect in our culture, and I love that and I value that. But I think it just comes down to you being a woman of just loving yourself, because I used to be that girl where I shied away from showing skin, or if I did too much, that will be something everyone will look down on, like, oh, she's doing too much, da, da, da. You get the backhand of things. And eventually you grow out of it, and it's in your own timing. It's in your own timing. It's not something that could happen overnight.
Yes.
I think it's all in your own timing, and trust that you are beautiful and you are unique. And being a Polynesian woman is a beautiful thing. So embrace your calves, because I know coarse calves was a thing where they were coming for us, okay?
Come on.
And I'm proud of my horse calves. I get complimented about it all the time. And so,
me and Chad had a cankle contest in Australia the other time, but it was just me. Oh, it might have just been me. Okay, but like I said, accepting that, and like, you know, it's no secret. Polynesians, either they're big people or whatever it is, we embrace what we do. And I think with the power of social media, the power of TikTok,
and the humor, I love the humor of it. I feel like no one understands the humor that we come off with. I mean, sometimes it was come for the horse calves, come for us. And eventually, at the time, I used to think it was not cute to have calves at the time. And then when I was on the road, I got so many compliments, and I realized, like, that's a beauty of ours as women, Polynesian women, to embrace our body, embrace your beauty, and live in it. This is what you live in every day. So why not embrace it and love it out loud?
Come on. And we were talking about with social media, now it is a platform. Now the TikTok dances, now, you know, PolyTik that we're talking about, where we can kind of have those things and see the humor in it, but you're always going to get the comments, which is 50% negative, 50% positive. And I think it's really on the people that read it, how they take it. And I think, especially with you being under the microscope your whole career, that you kind of had to adapt to kind of say, okay, if they're talking about you and they're talking good about you, you have to kind of accept both sides.
Accept both.
Yeah.
To this day, like, I try to overlook the negative comments, and sometimes I look at, they don't understand that how much I've gone through to accept that, I have done this much, I have done this and da 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 da, but they don't understand the warrior that I have become, that those comments don't affect me.
Come on.
So as much as you want to break me down, it's not going to happen. I will not give you that power. I have before, but I realize my worth, my power, and the wounds I've carried this long to understand that I am not what they think I am on social media. And it's just someone trolling who's unhappy with themselves.
Come on. All the burner accounts.
Burner accounts.
I seen them too. I see y'all talking shit to me too.
You can go ahead and talk your shit. I'm still happy with what I have and what I'm owning on the side, and not let that affect you, because those little comments should just fuel you.
Absolutely.
Honestly, to understand that someone took the time out of their day to comment on something that they cared so much about, that they actually cared about you. So I take that as a fan compliment. Oh man, they're watching. Okay.
Come on. And I always say, if they're not talking shit about you, you're probably not doing nothing anyway.
Exactly.
It's when they start talking shit about you is when, okay, I'm actually, raising some eyebrows and kind of getting my name out there. Take us back back. We talked about Aradna earlier. Take us back to this island in America. Who are some of the artists that you grew up on and kind of see still flourishing now and that you would want to work with in the future? Tell us about that whole realm in your aspect.
There's so many. I mean, Spawn Breezy.
Yeah, shout out Spawn, man.
Shout out to Spawn. Etu. I remember hearing him at the time. He was Eddie Dino.
AKA Eddie Dino. I seen him. EPA's very own. But now he's Etu. He was on the podcast too. He said Eddie Dino's dead. So R.I.P. to Eddie Dino. And now we have Etu.
I was a big fan of his covers.
Man.
It got me through. Like I said, I would play Polynesian music on the road just to remind me, like, this is a piece of home, and I put the girls on. I put all the girls on a Rodna, and they were in love with "I'm Not the Same."
Come on.
So that would be our
man, that's my sister's song. Salty still can't sing it, but it's cool. My sister was singing, and it's just a key off, but it's fine.
Don't cover your sister.
I'm not the same. That was one of the ones though. With Aradna and I'm Not the Same was kind of like those ones that resonated with the whole poly demographic. Yeah.
But I love that she was just so vulnerable. And I think that's why that record.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Oh, sorry. That was my sister calling my Apple phone. Sorry, sis.
I sure was a sister, a side chick. Let me find out.
Dinah looked around and she's
I
like,
remember
"There's
when we were on
the
the road, sir. Just kidding. But yeah, Rodna was someone I really looked up to. I mean, I still to this day.
Yeah.
Spawn Breezy, J-Bug. Eam just dropped a single. So I'm a huge fan of him, of his record right now. And there's so much more. J-Bug. Did I say J-Bug already? J-Bug.
I didn't say to go down the whole roller. I just said, because we're everyone's watching. And I talk about with Eam, with yourself, with Boog, and everybody that's in this kind of circle that we're in, where the worldwide appeal that you have, some of these artists may not have that opportunity. And that's why I'm kind of glad where you're coming out into your own, where you're saying, look, I'm going to start this label because you have the experiences. And when I say experiences, it may be experiences that some of these artists that are established now may not have been able to gone through like you have.
Yeah.
And now that you have that knowledge and aspect of it, now you can kind of say, look, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah. I
learned the hard way. I learned from, being thrown in the fire. And now this is what my teachings are.
I think I've just been learning to keep pushing the limits, keep pushing the bar. I feel like I say this respectfully. I say this respectfully. I think our Polynesian people, we're very comfortable with where we are placed. So
I'll be the disrespectful. Y'all complacent. So is that what you want to say?
I feel like
they
we're
get
very
stuck in the bubble and just get comfortable in what they're already achieved. There's not like a
which
next
is okay.
level.
Which is okay. And if that's what you want, then amen. Period. But I think it's just having that encouragement to push it a little bit further for, like I said, for the next is something that I want to share in my message of embarking this record label, that you can still push the bar.
Absolutely.
And that we shouldn't be comfortable with where we are because, I mean, there's so much talent out there. Much talent.
You better go on. There's so much talent.
There's kids I look up to online, and I'm cheering them on like I'm a fan. And I feel like our community, when we cheer each other on, it fuels us. Like, wow, I love that. We're
it's great because I'll see you go in someone's live like unannounced, and once they see you get in, they're like, "Oh my God, Dinah Jane's in there," and they'll kind of change up. And where it's kind of cool where you still do that. Yeah. And you still could kind of go in that whole aspect of you kind of just cheering on this next generation.
I came across a comment where someone was like, "Oh, I forget that you're famous," like something like that. And they're like, "I'm geeking out because like it's you," and da da da. And I still carry myself like I'm one of us.
And I take that was my next question too, because is the being famous, Dinah, humbles you because of the Polynesian background that you're, or because you could easily kind of just be the famous Dinah. But I see how you kind of pull the reins back on and kind of say, no, I'm like you guys. And I see it all the time in your interactions with your fans and when they come take pictures where they're tripping because you're so humble. Where does that come from?
I think it comes from home, honestly. How I was raised. My family have raised me so well to the point where I realized like you're never better than anyone. And my family has always humbled me and reminded me of like to stay grounded. There's sometimes where they're trying to be like, girl, if you don't talk your shit and be own it, da, da, da. But and I think I also get it from my dad. Yeah. If you meet my dad's
Pops
a whole teddy bear.
Yeah.
And he's very soft spoken like me. And I give
Don't
this
get it
credit
twisted.
to him.
Pops will whoop your ass though. Just to let y'all know that
Listen,
too.
at the VMAs, my dad was about.
I was about to say, hey, Pops could be a teddy bear. Pops will whoop that ass. Just to let y'all know.
I really get it from my dad. My
Yeah.
mom's more of the person. I've always looked up to my parents' personalities and their
Foundation.
relationship with each other.
Yeah.
So my mom's more of like the no, da 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 da, and I love that.
Yeah.
But I'm more like my dad, where I'm easygoing, laid back, and I'm more observant.
Yeah.
I observe people, and before I judge them or like try to see who they are as a person, the first 2 seconds, I give them a chance in the room, and then I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm more like my dad in
Shout
that
out,
sense.
Pops.
And
Shout out the foundation.
my dad always
man.
reminds me of like how I start and everything.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom, I had to give it to Dad this time.
Pops is like, rewind that part, rewind that.
But it really does start from home.
Yeah.
And it does come from our Polynesian background. So I think
Absolutely.
those two factors kind of mold me into who I am, my character. And I think that's what the industry, whenever I'm at work and on the go and whatnot, they always are kind of shocked
Yeah.
by my approach of how I carry myself. They're like, oh, you're so like nice.
Yeah.
You're so this. And
Well, even speaking on that,
I'm like, is nice hard for
Hard-
people?
come on.
I don't understand. That's all
sometimes it is. You'd be surprised. But we talk about like Dos Caras as two faces. They know the first face of Dinah Jane.
Mm-hmm.
What's the second face that people may not know about?
Face?
I mean, just in general. You know, you have Dinah Jane is the one moniker, but now they have the one that people may not know. Tell us a little bit about that
I
person.
don't know if people want to know that. Because when it comes to myself, like you said, I'm the oldest,
Yes,
right?
come
so
on.
I'll be
Lay it down.
laying it down. And when my voice gets loud,
Yeah.
the room stops with my siblings and they respect me. And I take that power very delicately,
Yeah.
where I'm like, okay, I don't want to be that person where I'm like, da 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 da. I'm saying this for your own good. It's more like I approach them in a respectful manner.
Absolutely.
And I love that they respect me. It's a mutual thing,
Come
being
on.
the oldest. So that's me behind closed doors. The other side of me is very I'm I don't want to say it. I don't want to sound
Go on,
mean.
say it. Yeah, be like, I'll whoop your ass too, like
As
that.
nice as I am, behind closed doors, the punishment is there.
Yes.
No, but I do it very gracefully and respectfully. So,
And before, I want to thank you again for coming and doing this, because I think this is needed.
Yes.
Not just for yourself, I think for the people that are watching this as well, and kind of people was wondering where Dinah was at and where were you in your 3-year hiatus. Before we get up out of here, I just want you to look into your camera right here and kind of tell people what you've been through. The one people that's watching right now, what the message that Dinah Jane has to the public that's watching her growth and her transition up until now. What do you want to tell them?
wow, no pressure. I would say dream big, and no matter what obstacle you face, is to remember that you have ancestors on the other side willing to catch you and run this race with you. And whatever you believe in, whoever you believe you're meant to be, own it, commit to it, and continue to create a strong foundation around you of people who love you, who genuinely love you, adore you, and truly support you, because that's the only way you'll win in life.
Shit, I almost cried. Woo, that was deep. Dude, you cried over there. But look, thank you, sis, for coming and doing this with us. Western Conference
you.
Podcast. We appreciate you. We're rooting for you. We on your side. But look, go watch this right now. Share it with your friends.
Yay.
Dinah Jane, Big Body Cisco, Western Conference Podcast. Brought to you by Dos Caras Tequila. We'll see you on the next one.